So we need to talk about Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders and their decision to play in whatever bowl game that Colorado qualifies for. And we need to talk about Travis Hunter being a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award and Travis Hunter not being a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because, well, we upload segments on this show every day because I always have something to say. And lately, it has been Colorado-centric, as many of you are aware if you watch this channel on a regular basis. One of the reasons that is because y'all like watching me talk about Colorado football as opposed to, say, UConn. And I should be talking more about UConn because UConn is going to go bowling this year too, and this is their first winning season since 2010 when they went 8-5. Jim Mora's done an outstanding job flipping that program around. It took the amount of time that you would expect a turnaround to take. Even going 6-7, going to a bowl game, they didn't finish with a winning record, and they went 3-9 last year. This year, they already have got to 7 wins, and they got an opportunity to really cement a great season with a win against a UMass team, Minutemen, who fired their head coach because he ain't been able to do what Jim Mora has been able to do, for example, right? But none of y'all want to hear me talk about UConn football. So I talk about Colorado football. You get what I'm saying here? None of y'all want to hear me talk about Washington State losing arguably the best quarterback in the Power 4 in Cam Ward because, well, I think that's an outstanding story. Also, what kind of a Heisman winner can leave a program and that program still go win 9 or 10 games without you? That says a lot. Like, that's no shade to John Mateer or Ben Arbuckle, who's the nominee for the Broyles Award. It is for me to tell you, yeah, I do cover the sport. And if we had more segments that people watched about Southern Methodist football, we would talk more about Southern Methodist football. But we don't. We have a very large Colorado contingent. Love them, hate them, you are watching them, and that is the reason why I am talking to you about them. I want to serve you the kind of things that you want to be served. In addition to, I always have to know what's going on in college football as I am ranking top 25 teams. And at the end of this regular season, I'm going to rank all 134 again. And there's already been some moving and shaking. We got to talk about Colorado being one of those programs. So Prime made news earlier today when he said, no, Shedeur and Travis will be playing in bowl games, setting a precedent, right, for future Colorado players, for future players, period. In this era of players opting out, going back to Leonard Fournette at LSU when he was going to be drafted, we thought in the first round, and was looking at a bowl game that didn't much matter to him because they weren't playing for championships. He set off this trend of, why would I do this? And then you have some horror stories, right? You have guys like Jalen Robinson, who, I mean, we're talking about one of the great linebackers to ever come out of Notre Dame, who also ends up taking a season-ending injury, but, you know, the Cowboys end up drafting him anyway off of that injury because, well, you've never actually seen a player as good as him at that linebacker position. And frankly, many of us thought that dude was going to be, well, what Micah Parsons ended up being. I say it's Jalen Robinson. Let me make sure I'm not talking about behind because they ended up releasing my dude. Cowboys, Jalen. Yeah. Jalen Smith, not Jalen Robinson. See, somebody's going to be in the comments telling me that. I appreciate that, right? So, knowing that, I'm probably try to edit that part out. I don't know. We might leave it in. We'll leave it in. Y'all like picking on me anyway. Point there is that Travis Hunter is probably the number 1 overall pick. If he's not, it's a quarterback because people have a need. I don't really see an edge guy being that dude, but, you know, I didn't see it happening a few years ago. And then Aiden Hutchinson just basically comes out the ether with basically a great game against Ohio State that helped his draft stock. Say nothing of Trayvon Walker, who also was a great pick in that draft. Michael Williams might be in there somewhere. And then we got a couple of players that we're still waiting on to mature into that spot, like Jeremiah Smith or Caleb Downs at Ohio State. But if you're Travis Hunter and you played more snaps than anybody has played in the modern era of football, and you still want to play football in the bowl game, what does it look like for folks that ain't playing that many snaps and ain't putting up the numbers that he's putting up to opt out of playing in those bowl games because they are going to risk injury? Well, nobody's risked injury more often than Travis Hunter. We got the stats to prove it. The same thing is more or less assured of Shedeur Sanders, who I think is going to be drafted in the first round. He's got that sort of talent wasn't really that sold on it, and as it got to be a little bit further down the line, as I got to see him operate without 4 of his top 6 receivers against Kansas State in the game that they probably could have won if the defense could have held up its end, okay, Shedeur Sanders is out there making it happen. He's also ranking in the top 10 in most passing categories. He is one of the most prolific passers in the sport right now. He'll go over 3,500 yards passing this weekend against Oklahoma State. He's going 30 TDs. The only dude that's thrown more TDs than him is Cam Ward, right? So will Shedeur get a invite to the Heisman? Maybe. I don't know. But Travis Hunter should win that award. As a matter of fact, Travis Hunter should win every award that he is eligible to be selected for. We have not seen anybody do what Travis Hunter has done in this sport. He is the only player with over 1,000 yards receiving and 10 TDs and 3 interceptions. He is playing the equivalent of 4 years of football the last 2 years, and he's doing it at the same time. He is going both ways, and people are so terrified of him on defense that they frequently throw to the other side of the field. Okay? I'm not going to listen to people telling me that Travis Hunter is not one of the best defensive backs in football. I know that I've also made some of my fellow committee members and voters unhappy with this, but I don't see how you can have a finalist list that's got Malachi Starks in it, who's good, that's got, my goodness, Jahdae Barron in it, who's good, and Caleb Downs in it, who's good, and not have Travis Hunter in it, because none of those dudes have done what Travis Hunter's done. It's that simple. He's got 3 interceptions. Jahdae Barron's got 4. Okay? You want to talk about production? Jahdae's probably the most productive dude there, and he's the only corner there, right? Which says more because safeties are more downhill and or have more opportunities to make more tackles. Malachi Starks is a freak athlete, and I can't wait for people to figure that part out about him. And Caleb Downs has returned a punt return for a touchdown and is a pterodactyl in Jim Knowles' defense and keeps the lid on. Like, one of the reasons they got the best scoring defense in the country is because Caleb Downs is over the top, letting Latham Ransom run downhill and knock people out. And I say knock people out because he caused 4 forced fumbles. You can't do that if you ain't got a free safety who is sideline to sideline like a superhero with a cape on, dog. He's that good. But like Ashton Genty, they got to put up with Travis Hunter is who he is, one of one. I don't care that Ashton Genty might break Barry Sanders' record for rushing yards in a season. He's going to have to do it in the postseason unless he goes for 566 yards or something in this game coming up this weekend. He could do this over the next 2, probably will do it over the next 3. But Barry also did this in 11 games and did it against Big A competition. The Mountain West is not Big A competition. To that point, neither is the Big 12. The Big 12 is a tougher league because they play 9 league games. And they're really cannibalizing themselves, and we're having to talk about them in a way that I don't think is always fair because they beat each other. You know, it's the Indiana argument. It's Indiana's not that good. Well, everybody they played had a winning record or was at 500 when they played them, and they beat everybody but Ohio State, right? We're talking about Nebraska being 5-1 and them shellacking Nebraska 56-7, who's going bowling for the first time in 8 years, making that the best Nebraska team that we have seen in almost a decade. Like, what are we doing here? I'm getting upset about Travis Hunter being left off the Thorpe Award list because he's a Biletnikoff Award finalist. Now, I realize that there is a contingent of voter out there who does not care about this sport the way I care about this sport, who does not watch this sport the way I watch this sport, because there ain't a whole lot of people in the world that watch this sport like I watch this sport. Because I love it so much, I'm going to be watching Kent State play tonight because I want to see if they can get their first friggin' win of the year and be not the only team. They're the only team without a win this year. So I'm pulling for them. Like, I want it to happen for them because don't nobody want to go through an entire year of being sorry, right? I am that type. I'm watching the ball. Just because I'm not always here talking about your team does not mean I'm not watching your team play. That's why we're reacting to the news as it happens. I believe that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter continue to play football is also going to help everybody else out. If you're playing against them, people are going to be watching your game. Otherwise, they wouldn't care, right? They really wouldn't. And that's more to do with the draw and the star power of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, which is why I put those dudes at the top of my list when we talk about the 100 superstars in the sport. It ain't just about your production. It's about who wants to watch you play. And not for nothing, but most of y'all don't know John Mateer's name. And that dude has been electric at Wazoo. for starters, right? I can keep going down the list. Nick Nash at San Jose State, a monster. Nick Marsh at Michigan State, a monster. We can keep going, right? RJ Harvey at Central Florida, a monster. But that's not how people want to consume the sport. They want me to talk about their team. And Lord, forgive me if I make a mistake. Yeah, I'm leaving that in. If you made it this far, I'm leaving that in. I realize that I get on here and I talk with you about a lot. And I talk with you mostly without a filter, right? The only filter that we have on is, we don't do hard profanity on this show, and we will never do hard profanity on this show. And we don't talk politics on this show. But you get the full force that is me, because I love it. And I love hearing from you, right? Y'all make me smarter too. Just in the comments, reading what you got to say. Some of y'all be watching the sport like I be watching the sport, and I have the privilege of having a microphone in front of me and doing this. But every now and again, something like this has to pop up, and somebody got to speak on it. I'm going to speak on Travis Hunter not even being a finalist for the Thorpe Award in a season where he has been unlike any other player. Man after man, football player after football player, coach after coach, purveyor after purveyor is telling you he's a unicorn, meaning there isn't but one, and we will never see another one like him again. Could there be guys that go both ways, play that many snaps? Sure. Who did it first? Tell me who the second man to break the color barrier in Major League Baseball is after Jackie Robinson. Okay? You remember Jackie. That's what I'm telling you, dog. You remember first. You remember pioneers. You remember it's hard to trailblaze. And this dude is doing it, and he's doing it with a smile, and he is super, super into the game. Loves to play. Can't wait to play. And the reason that Prime lets him run roughshod over him, taking his shoes and whatnot, is because Prime recognizes himself. He recognizes a love of the game, a respect for the game. And when you are as talented and as hardworking as Travis Hunter is, you get treated fairly. That does not mean you get treated like everybody else. So voters, stop doing that. Make that man your choice, and don't let history look back at you and call you a fool, because that's what it looks right now.